Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to a brand new game spotlight on a game I've been playing just a little bit lately. It's called FortressCraft Evolve. Definitely want to show you guys this game because I've been having a lot of fun with it. My basic approach to this spotlight is I'm going to show you some of the beginning parts of the game and then show you some of the later parts of the game so you can get a feel for what it looks like when you first start out and what it looks like when you've gotten further progressed into the game. I haven't quite gotten towards the very end of it yet, but I've been playing for a little bit here. If we jump into our world select and jump over to the world that I've been playing since I got the game, you can see I've got a total play time of about 1 day and 6 hours. This doesn't mean I started playing a day ago, it means I've put 30 hours worth of gameplay into this world. So clearly, having a pretty good time. And as a result, I want to show it to you guys, because it's a really cool game. So let's jump in and create a new world. I'm going to call it Dire Spotlight World. It's going to be a survival world. I'll talk about the survival options that are available here in just a little bit. Let's see, Dire Spotlight. I probably have to hit enter. There we go. We'll talk about some of the options that are part of the survival bit in a little bit, but for now, let's create a world and see what FortressCraft Evolved is all about. So you're going to start off in this game in a spaceship, but don't be confused because it's really not a game about flying around in space. The problem with this spaceship is he's docking with a space station that's in a little bit of trouble. That does not look good. As a result of this giant explosion on the space station that he's trying to dock at, a bunch of stuff is going to start flying through space here, and the spaceship decides it needs to make an emergency landing. Luckily, once we land, we go ahead and start off in the tutorial that teaches you a little about the game. Now there's a force field that surrounds your player when you first start out, but once you've completed the tutorial here, you'll find out that this force field is going to go away. So we'll just hit OK on this, and you'll see that it's giving you a big amount of information here. Press E, then add resources to this CPH to make power. Okay, so we press E here. E is the way that you interact with most machines and objects in your world. And I'm going to go ahead and click the Add Resources button, and it's going to take some coal out of my inventory and start burning it to generate power. Hooray! Next up, I'm a humanish type player, I assume, on a crash-landed planet, and it looks like it's pretty cold out here. As a result, my spacesuit requires some power in order to keep me alive. So luckily, the power that's being created by this power hub is going to go ahead and get stored in this power storage block. And you can see when I look at it, down on the bottom left, it's indicating to me it's a power storage block, how much power is in there, and then there's two keys that you can worry about. E to store power, which drains it out of your suit and puts it into the block, or Q to retrieve power. And you can see as I hold Q there, it filled up my suit's power, and it drained it from the power storage, but then it was quickly replenished by the power hub right here. Nice. Cool. Now what do we have to do? Press E, then add power to power this ore extractor. So luckily, it seems that an ore extractor and a little bit of storage and a power storage block here landed right near, oh boy, I can't get out of this force field just yet, a block. Let's go ahead and add power so that we can start mining this block. There we go. Looks like it's mining coal. Well, that sounds useful because we need coal to power our thing. Uh-oh, I've gone ahead and drained my suit's power. That's not good. Let's go ahead and fill back up again from this power storage block. Nice. Now what do you want to do? Press Q to remove coal from this hopper. Alright, so hoppers are ways to store items in the game, and this coal ore hopper right here you can see is getting filled up with coal from this ore extractor. So let's go ahead and hit Q to pick it up. Nice. Now, we have to start learning about our environment. To do that, you're going to want to use this ore scanner. So use the right mouse button to scan something. I guess I'll scan this block right in front of me. This coal ore vein. Neat. So we find out all about the coal ore vein, and it's able to analyze and detect how much coal is going to be in that vein and where it extends out to. And I can also use it to scan something like this ground. Unknown block detected. Let's go ahead and scan it. Cool. We scanned a new block. Now we need to research our scan. So if we come over here to this research station, we'll see that there's an unknown material that I've scanned, and I can research it. So we'll just click the process button. Oh, cool. It's snow. We learned about snow. Neat. There's a lot of things in the game that we can research, and we'll be seeing some more of that in just a bit. Oh boy, looks like a robot just fell out of the sky. We need to craft a power core. So let's see how we do that. Oh, over here there's a machine that we can use to craft stuff. So let's go in here, and you'll see that there's a bunch of different items that are available for crafting. More items will show up as we progress throughout the game. They're also broken down into categories. This category here deals with ores and smelting. This category here deals with power, item transport and storage. But what we need to craft, apparently, is an Arthur power core. So let's go ahead and craft one of those guys. Looks like it requires 2 copper, which is exactly how much copper I have. So I'll hit craft. All of a sudden, the tutorial is complete, and Arthur is up and running. Cool. The nice thing about this game is a help system, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Arthur is your little robot friend. He's going to follow you around and help you out by doing a couple of little things for you, some of which we'll talk about shortly. Neat. Now there's a bunch of different stuff that we can do now that the tutorial is ended, so let's take a look. First off, let's look at our inventory. You'll notice your inventory block, pretty standard inventory screen. You've got a bunch of slots available, and some of the items that we have available to us here already exist in our inventory. So we've already got some conveyor belts and logistics hopper. These are ways to transport items around your world. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see that there's a little bit of a ghost outline here indicating that we should probably take a look at automating getting coal from this little mining system that we've got here directly into our power hub. So let's go ahead and place down 1, 2, 3 conveyor belts, and then this logistics hopper. Now there's a bunch of different kinds of hoppers that we'll talk about shortly, but for the most part you can understand that hoppers do 2 things. 1, they store items, and 2, they transfer items to other machines or conveyors. Conveyor blocks can be rotated, by the way, so you can just look at them and rotate, and you'll see what direction it's facing. Hit R to rotate, or the brackets as it indicates there. And then logistics hoppers work very much like this storage hopper, in that you can press Q to pull items out. So notice that on my hotbar in slot 3, I've got 101 coal, and it tells me when I'm looking at this logistics hopper that it's tiny and somewhat slow, so it's a very basic hopper. And the storage used is 2. So I'm going to hit Q. And now we've picked up 3 of those guys because a little bit more went directly into it. And you can see that it's quickly transferring more coal directly into that hopper. Very nice. Luckily, I've started with the ability to extract some ore because I've got some ore extractors on me. Let's go ahead and look around for something to extract. If we want to be able to help ourselves find things, we're going to look up that scanner. Default to do that is to press M. And there's a couple options on our scanner here. We can ping for known ore, unknown ore, or just empty space. So if I ping for unknown ore by clicking the left mouse button, note that it's going to use a bit of power to do this, but we'll see a bunch of unknown blocks that are nearby. Oh my goodness, there's something very large directly under my feet. So let's go figure out what that's all about. Press X to bring up your builder gun, and you can right-click to remove blocks from the terrain. Nice. And you'll pick them up as you move around. So it looks like here's an unknown block. Let's go ahead and scan it with right-click. All right, let's bring it back to our base. Looks like I've discovered dirt and rough-hewn rock. Cool. Now when I go to scan again, you'll notice that there's far less stuff detected, right? So here are some ore types, obviously, that we have yet to scan and analyze. Let's go ahead and check it out. I think down here are a couple things that can be scanned. All right. Also, you have a headlamp, which definitely helps, but just keep in mind that that drains power. Looks like I found a tree with some wood on it. I'll collect some of that. Beautiful. Back at my base, I can analyze the object, so I've got leaves, and I've got a tree trunk. Nice. Some of the other things we can do in our research terminal, by the way, is research different crafting recipes that we don't already know. You'll notice that this costs research points, which you accumulate by scanning new blocks. There's also projects. Projects are an important way to go about figuring out what's going on in your environment. What you want to do with projects is basically, it's a larger crafting area. Uh-oh, it's getting cold. Notice, remember I said it's a cold environment here, and our suit helps us keep warm. As you start to get cold as a result of your suit running low on power, you will die. It's not a good thing. So you want to make sure you have suit power built up. Throughout the game, you're going to be able to craft components that allow you to store more energy and be able to handle the cold environment that you find yourself in. Also, at night, unsurprisingly, it's a little bit colder. On the top right, you'll notice that you've got a couple pieces of information. The external temperature, so right now it's about 32 degrees C. And then your suit internal temperature, or the external temperature is negative 32 degrees C, my bad. And then your suit internal temperature, it's keeping you a nice warm 18.3 degrees C, and your battery usage rate. That's how much energy you're using just to keep yourself up and alive. So about 1.4 energy a second. You'll notice in the top left, my energy is dropping about 1 every second. Of course, if we turn off our flashlight, we'll have a little bit less energy use from the suit, but we still have the same amount of energy use to keep ourselves warm and comfortable. You'll find, because of the frigid atmosphere that you're currently living in, venturing far from your base is going to be a little bit tough early on. So one of the parts of this game is surviving in this terribly frigid environment. Luckily, I see some ore down here, so let's go ahead and scan this and figure out what type of ore it is. Alright, we better bring it back with us. Now, you're not easily able to mine using the gun that you've got that lets you build and mine stuff. So let's go home and see what we've discovered here. Process. Tin ore. Nice. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and hook up our ore extractor here. So what do I got in my inventory, or what can I make? We're definitely going to want to make a few things here. You'll notice a storage hopper, which allows you to store a lot of resources, costs a decent amount of tin and iron. A logistics hopper is another type of hopper. It only stores 2 items as opposed to the 100 that a storage hopper can hold, but it's a lot cheaper. It only costs 2 copper and tin. And then there's a mini hopper, also costs 2 copper and tin, but there's a slight difference between mini and logistics hoppers. Logistics hoppers are pretty quick about transferring their items from one inventory to the next. So for example, we saw over here, coal quickly got extracted from this hopper, and it'll quickly make its way into the power hub. However, with a mini hopper, they're slower in terms of transferring items, but they can store 10. So they have better storage but slower transfer rate. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some copper and tin, because that's clearly what we're going to need to get started in this world. So first off, I'm going to place down my ore extractor. You can see it's initializing, and it's going to basically not do anything, because it's out of power. Right now, the best way for me to generate power is back at my base, and I can add power from my suit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Cool. My suit really doesn't store much power, and because I gave all my power to that thing, I'm pretty rapidly freezing. And as the word hypothermia up there fills in blue, I will slowly die. So let's get some energy stored back up from our battery here, and go back downstairs and see how we made out. Luckily, the ore extractor doesn't use a whole ton of power when it comes to extracting, but also we're on a pretty easy game mode setting. Some of the more difficult settings do require more power and give you less ore. Cool, so I've got my first set of 4 tin ore. So every operation here, which I think is about 30 seconds or so, will generate 4 tin ore. There's upgrades we can place in this thing to get more ore per period of time. I'm just going to add some more power here and run back to my base. Oh, it's cold. Cold, 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 cold. Cold, cold, cold. Very cold. There we go. Nice. To smelt this, luckily, our base has a smelter. Just drop your ore into the ore smelter here, and it'll use the energy from the adjacent central power hub that we've got here and start smelting up the ore. Cool. First off, the ore smelter needs to warm up. So if you're only smelting a few things at a time, you might find it's more efficient to smelt like a bunch of ore all at once, because it'll heat up once and then smelt it all. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait. There are again, upgrades that we can place on this block to both increase the smelting speed and the heat up time. So good news and bad news. The good news is that we've got 10 bars. The bad news is that it requires 4 ore per bar. So we've only got 1 of these bars. So there's going to be a little bit of time involved in getting ourselves some more ore. The other piece of good news is that your reach is pretty strong. Because of this awesome gun that we have that allows us to build, we can interact with machines from a distance, and we can also build pretty well from a distance. We can place blocks pretty far away, like pretty much almost as far as you can wish to. So if I wanted to place a torch, for example, which generates a little bit of light, I can do that all the way over there. And I can also right-click to remove it. Do note, though, that when you remove blocks, they're going to drop in item form right where they were, so you do have to run over to collect them. But that's pretty neat. There's a couple other neat tips for building, by the way. As you dig out terrain, you might want to dig a little bit faster. And to do that, just hold down the control key, and this will dig much faster, but of course, at the use of much more power. And when it comes to building, left-click places blocks. And control left-click will place blocks from the face that you're looking at to your character. So control left-click. Let's make sure I've got some energy here. Nice. And boom. Sweet. Very, very fancy way to build. You'll find that these little tips and secrets here will help you very much if you're checking out this game. Let's go ahead and find some more ore. So we already found some tin. Let's ping for unknown ores and see what we can find. There's something up there that's unknown. Can I? Scanning unknown block from a distance. Not sure what type of block it is, but we'll find out in our research station. Oh, just a certain type of rock. Oh well. Let's go find some copper. There might be some below us. I think it's time to do the thing that we're really not supposed to do in Minecraft, and that is dig straight down. Luckily, FortressCraft, not so much of a problem when you're digging straight down. So definitely something unique down here. Let's see if we can figure out what it is. I'm going to turn on my headlights and dig our way through to find this thing. Oh, looks like I probably just found another type of terrain. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm pretty deep. How do I get out of here? Luckily, you're equipped with a pretty useful device. I better turn off my headlamp before things get crazy. Press F to launch a grappling hook that will pull you upwards towards whatever block you grab onto. Very useful way to get out of deep caves. Oh hey, look at this. I found another type of block. I'm going to suspect that that's copper. I can tell because I know what copper looks like because I've been playing this game. So I'm going to place down another ore extractor, and you'll see he'll orient himself. The ore extractor can face downwards or sideways, whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and add some power here so that it starts mining, but just enough to keep me alive while I get back to my base. I'm actually not too far away. Just a little hole in the ground right there, and I'm going to mark it with a torch so I remember where it is. Let's scan. I might not have the power to scan this thing. Yeah, I definitely don't. But there's some local wildlife here that might be useful for us too. Oh yeah, lots of material to scan that I scanned and picked up. So bedrock, rubble, and copper ore. Nice. So I promised you some details regarding the handbook that comes with this game. So simply press H anytime you're in game, and it's very cool because it's both contextual and easy to use. If you're looking at a block, for example the research station, and if you have a block highlighted in your inventory, for example a torch, when I hit H it's going to give you first contextual help. It's going to tell you about the block you're looking at, selected block, the block in your hotbar, or the controls, which is a suggested guide which you should go ahead and flip through just to get an idea of all the different controls and things you can do. You know, like how to go ahead and turn on and off your headlamp, how to use the jetpack once you can craft it, how to open up your self-crafting window, which is C, which allows you to craft some, but mostly not many machines, but a couple basic ones can be made in here. It's pretty helpful. So, you know, if you don't really know how to use the research station, just click on it and it'll give you a nice little in-game guide about how to do stuff, what projects are, what recipes are, and all that cool stuff. And then again, contextual help on your central power hub, because that's what I'm looking at now. And it gives you all the information about energy production and a couple other things you're going to want to know about. Pretty neat. So as you can imagine, starting off on this planet is a little bit brutal. There's a couple other robots that wander around your base, and you'll get a feel for them a little bit later in the game. This particular spider bot helps defend you against some of the enemies that you may be up against in the near future. Let's jump over to an existing world here, and we'll talk a little bit about what a game looks like once you've been playing for a bit. So let's take a look at this world right here. This is the one that I've been playing for a while, and obviously there's a little bit more going on in it. Ta-da! The world has loaded around me. So significantly different type of technology that we see here. One of the main ways to transport items around your blocks, or around your base, are these blocks right here, which are the conveyors. We already took a brief look at these. There's some other conveyor belts that are available further throughout the game, faster operating ones. There's also this guy, which is a conveyor turntable, which basically acts as a splitter. There's different ways to generate power for your base. So the main way once you start out is your central power hub. However, as you progress, you're going to want to start mining up some coal, which is what this conveyor belt is feeding right here. And you can see this runs all the way far. There are a couple coal veins throughout the area here that I've already completely cleared out and have had to restart. And you'll notice that if we take a look here, just pop down real quick. There's a pretty nice coal vein right here that's being operated on, and that is this mining rig right here. So the generator here is using coal to generate power, which it's getting from this hopper. The power is being stored in a power storage block, and then powering the ore extractor, which is pulling out coal, as we can see. Currently, it's full. And then remaining coal is getting pulled up through our conveyor system and sent back to our base. Pretty cool. Back at our main base, there are several coal generators here. I've gotten to the point where there's a new type of generator. I just haven't yet built it. Sounds like I'm under attack from some aliens. But first, I want to talk about power transfer. We've already seen how to generate power using generators, right? Just place coal in there, and it starts creating power. And then it can store it in the power blocks. These blocks right here are called laser power transmitters. There are 3 tiers. So far, I've been able to craft tier 1, which are the green ones, and tier 2, which are the blue ones. They will transmit power from either a generator or a power storage block, and it transfers about 64 blocks away, so you're going to need multiple of them. And you can see I've got a couple guns here that, will defend my base from the incoming attackers. One of the things that you'll find is as you build up a base, the local wildlife may not appreciate it so much, and they're going to start attacking you. And there's a couple nasty bugs that start flying your way, and you're going to want to build some defensive platforms to make sure that you don't get attacked too much. So you can see here right in front of me, I've got several blocks that are responsible for taking care of things. I've got 4 types of ore coming in here. We've got tin and copper, which we already saw. We've also got iron and lithium, which we haven't seen just yet. And those are getting stored in these storage hoppers, and you can see that they're coming in. Looks like actually I'm running out of copper, so I have to go, readjust and find a new copper node, because I think it just recently ran out. They're basically being automated where all the ore gets pumped up above ground. It's placed inside these hoppers. The hoppers transfer them to ore smelters, and then the ore smelters place the ore that it smelts into the storage hopper here. Pretty cool. And then, of course, lasers are transmitting power a little bit underground here. Pretty cool, right? Oh, I think I see myself some attackers coming my way towards my base. Your player does have a weapon. It's V to equip it, and you can just left click to shoot these guys. You'll also notice your spider bot there will fly around and help you out. But if these guys do happen to get too close to the base, and you'll see they drop some items that can be used in some crafting recipes, my defensive weapons here will take them down. What will happen, by the way, they will head towards your CPH here, your central processing hub, and if they manage to attack and destroy it, early game it's not that much of a problem. There is a difficulty mode where if your central power hub is destroyed, your game is over, but in easy mode that's not the case. It just is shut down for a little bit and doesn't generate power. So it's more of an inconvenience early on. Later on in the game, there's some mechanics that are involved that make it a little bit more annoying if they get attacked. So you definitely want to defend your base. Luckily there's a threat scanner block here that indicates when enemies are on their way and how likely they are to be showing up again soon. I should also mention that this world is pretty big. According to the developer, it's about 500 light years in all directions from the center. So basically you will never find the edge of the world. It lasts almost indefinitely. Down, it goes pretty deep. So here's a pretty deep cave, and one of the tricks that I found is using your grappling hook to help slow your fall. It's definitely useful. Down here in this cave, I've got another little miniature base set up where I'm mining some of the more deeper ores that you can find. Here we've got some gold, and down a little bit further here, we've got some like titanium and nickel that are being mined. You can see it's not super tidy, but here's a giant titanium vein, for example. pretty large. When you scan the veins, it gives you information on the bottom left, like the volume, which I think is pretty much the amount of ores per block, and then the total ore amount, which... And if you'd like to check on your base from afar, you can use a pretty cool feature called the Hollow Base. Just hit K here, and it'll go ahead and load up. And you can hit U to look at a 2D representation of your hollow base. So you can see you are here, you can see some of the conveyors. Red conveyors or red blocks are bad. I think the reason that these guys are red is because they're backstuffed, meaning there's nowhere for them to go. The ones that are white are moving, obviously. And then you can zoom out, and you can see further down, I've got some other stuff going on. There's some other conveyors that are transferring, and then you can move up and down as well if you want. So you can kind of go upwards and downwards and see all your stuff. It's a really cool system. Yeah, that's pretty neat. So we can see further up, there's our main base. A very cool and handy way to see where you're getting stuck in terms of power generation or item transfer or stuff like that. Luckily, getting out of this cave is pretty easy because I built a teleporter. Nice. That teleports me back up. Oh, looks like my CPH is rebooting. That's the information at the top of the screen there. So you'll see that, in fact, my base defense wasn't quite sufficient. I've just gotten to the point where more dangerous enemies are coming my way, so I have to upgrade my defenses a bit. But you'll notice the CPH is basically on fire for about a minute or two, and eventually it'll pick back up and let me start using it again. If we check out our crafting area over here, we can see there's plenty new items available that we didn't see. I haven't unlocked everything in the research system quite yet, but there's a lot of different ways to transfer items. There's tubes and pipes and conveyor belts. There's a matter mover, which basically beams items around. There's storage blocks that you can use to store all kinds of cool stuff. Multi-block storages. There's quite a few multi-block systems in here. What you'll discover is shortly after you've started doing some research, some of the more advanced research requires a laboratory, which is this big thing right here. It's a multi-block system, which requires you to basically feed it research modules. Think of it similar to Factorio, how the research in Factorio works. As a matter of fact, I'd even go so far to say, as this game, FortressCraft Evolved, plays very much like a combination between Factorio and Minecraft, in that clearly you're in a 3D world with 3D ability to, place blocks down and remove them and all that kind of cool stuff. But with regards to the Factorio similarities, you've got things like conveyor belts for transferring items around, and power generation and power transmission, and a research system which requires crafting research objects. This is a whole research station that I'm not going to explain all the details of right here, but basically you have to craft items using the resources you find in the world to do your research to be able to unlock new blocks and new abilities for your character. And if you guys were worried about the size of the world, don't be. Unlike Minecraft, where you have to worry a little bit about chunk loading and being near your machines for them to continue to operate, FortressCraft Evolved machines are pretty much always active all the time, so there's no worry about chunk loading or anything like that. As long as there's a machine there, it's going to be up and running. That machine will continue to operate, whether the player is nearby or not. So it's a pretty big world for you to explore. Basically, you'll never be able to explore it. It's going to, generate forever in all directions. The game is what I wouldn't call it beta. It's definitely not a beta. But it's also not complete. It's not feature complete, that is. So it's very stable. I've been playing it for over 30 hours, as you guys have seen, and I haven't had really any kind of major bugs. It's an indie game. There's one primary main developer, and then there's like another developer that works part-time helping out with it, and then there's a couple artists that also assist. But for the most part, it's just one main guy running the show, and the game is extremely stable, and it's a lot of fun. But it's definitely also challenging. I'm playing on easy mode, which means when I die, I don't lose my items, but next time through, I'm probably going to play where when I die, my items drop to the ground. There's a couple other options there where maybe if you die, your items are completely gone, and a couple others like hardcore mode, where if you die, you're dead forever. I definitely recommend playing on the easy mode the first time through, because dying is a lot easier than it seems. I still die. I wouldn't say often anymore, but it definitely happens, especially early on when you don't have the power to, deal with the cold environment here that your suit needs to keep you warm. So I think that's a pretty good assessment of FortressCraft Evolved. It's a lot of fun. It's very much like a technical game where you need to build automation and automate certain things. You'll find that the need for certain resources is pretty high. early game resources, you don't need a whole particularly large amount. So for example, conveyor belts, you only need 1 copper and tin per conveyor belt, but you'll actually find that that's a decent amount of effort because as you mine, you only get 1 bar per ore, per 4 ore that is. So, but more advanced machines, especially like the tier 3 stuff, like I need 185 titanium bars, 95 nickel, and 75 gold per Mark III laser energy transmitter. One of the reasons I haven't made one yet. They're pretty expensive. And yeah, I have a bunch right now, but that's because I've automated everything. So automation is key in this game. So if you're a fan of automating things, if you're a fan of power systems, obviously, my base is a little bit messy, but it's my first time playing through. I'm still getting the hang of some of the basic mechanics here. And I think the final thing I'll leave you guys with is let me know if you're interested in maybe seeing a Let's Play on this. I'm going to put a straw poll in the description of this video. So go ahead and click on that and vote, yes or no, if you'd like to see a Let's Play of this game. What I'm thinking is, to show you guys a little bit more. We've only scratched the surface. There's a ton of machines, a ton of blocks, and a ton of mechanics that I'd be interested in showing you guys. It's really a lot of fun in my opinion. So for now, Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the game spotlight on FortressCraft Evolved. It is available on Steam. It's stable but not feature complete. There are many, many, many features that the developer has discussed with me that he has planned in the future, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of the stuff that he has, on his to-do list. But it's very stable, and it's, like I said, already given me about 30 hours of playtime, and I'm still not done with this world. I have quite a lot more to do in it. All right, guys, take it easy.